blood clot. That Sunday morning, DC, I was getting ready for church, and the next thing I know, that I remember, I was on my kitchen floor, looking up, the ceiling was spinning. I was like, okay, I was trying to get my bearings, and thankfully, my cell phone was right there. And I reached and I called my one of my very good friends, Deidre, and I said, Dee, I said, I'm not sure what's going on. I said, the room's spinning, and then after that, I'm not sure what else I said to her, but she kept me on the phone, and she called 911.
LaTrice called me that Sunday morning. We were getting ready for church. We had a program at our church involving our sorority, and when I got the call, I really couldn't understand what she was saying. I knew it was her because her name popped up on my phone, but she was saying, "Help me." And I didn't realize, I couldn't even make out what was going on. And I remember asking her again, I said, "LaTrice, is it LaTrice?" I just kept calling her name, and she kept saying, "Help me."
Deidre said that she'd called 911. So I remember her telling me that in my ear. And I don't know how, but I remember I somehow managed to get from I couldn't walk, but I managed to somehow get to my door. I remember leaving the door open and unlocking it because I knew EMT would be there, and I would maybe not be able to get up and open the door. You know, they could always bust it in, but I remember somehow I opened the door, and I remember somebody grabbing my hand and touching my face and saying, "LaTrice, LaTrice, stay with me." And then the next thing I remember, I'm in the ambulance. By that time, I remember the first maybe 2 or 3 minutes in the ambulance, and nothing else for probably over 3 weeks.
Within minutes, she was admitted to the hospital's critical care unit, and the news was not good. Doctors told LaTrice's friends she was the sickest patient in the hospital.
And seeing how really, really sick she was, and knowing that we need to call her dad. And I remember that phone call, making that call to her dad, which was very hard, you know, but we knew that he needed to, he's in Nashville.
And she said, "Mr. Curry, you need to get up here quick. LaTrice is real sick. We don't know what it is. We're rushing her to the hospital." This happened on Sunday, August the 25th. My wife had passed on Monday, August the 27th, the previous year. And I told God, I said, "Hey, God, you can't do this to me. I can't take it." So when we got in, they told us what had transpired, the condition that she was in, what they had already done, and it was just something that I couldn't fathom. And I started praying.
As the weeks went on and LaTrice regained consciousness, the presence of her dad made a huge difference in her recovery.
He was up and down that highway. He was in the hospital with me every day. And it was like clockwork. And the nurses said they could tell. They were like, "LaTrice, you look for your dad every day." And if he was late, he would say, "Where's my dad?" Almost like a child. "Where's my dad?" You know, and they were like, "LaTrice, he's going to be here." You know, and they would even tell me one day he had to run an errand, but he said he's on his way. And just that sense of peace and of calm that it gave me when he walked in the room, you know.
He's a rock.
He's a rock.
Eventually, she was able to do physical rehab. She worked hard, exceeding what therapists asked her to do.
Every day, I said, "You know what? I'm getting out of here." I just kept saying that. I just kept saying that. Every day, I'm going home. I'm getting my life back.
I saw a real miracle. I remember her crying, and I said, "Latrice, why are you crying?" She said, "Well, Dad, I don't know what I'm going to be able to do." So I hugged her and we prayed, and I said, "God's going. I said, He's brought you this far." I said, "He didn't bring you this far to leave you. He's going to take care of you." And she smiled, and I never saw her cry again.
I think that when people talk about and say miracles, and they look at me, and if there was ever any doubt in your mind about miracles, you're looking at a walking, living, breathing miracle. And, you know, as you know, there were with the cards, and every card in there said, "Latrice, I'm praying for you." Everywhere I go, when I go out in the store, "Latrice, I prayed for you." One person even stopped me in an aisle of the grocery store and said, "Do you mind if we just pray right here quickly?" And I said, "Sure." And I told everyone that said that, and I've seen, I said, "Believe me," I said, "I felt each and every prayer." I said, "I felt all of those well wishes and that support." And I said, and I hope that one of the things that truly can come out of this is that, yes, I'm one example, but when you hear about other scenarios, situations, and no matter what's going on in your personal life or your family, I want you to dig deep down, and that same belief, that same prayer that you sent for me, let's send up for them as well. And I hope I continue to be a blessing and to continue to do a good job for our viewers and for Channel 3, and just to continue doing what I was doing, to continue telling the stories of people here in the Tennessee Valley.
Getting back to this point wasn't easy.
I remember the first time you came back after being in the hospital, I didn't even recognize you because it was such a profound difference.
I love you.
In addition to a miracle, I had a lot of help.
You were one of those people that I was like, man, if we can get this lady back, she is going to be an amazing story.
It started out as a typical Sunday. I was getting ready for church, and the next thing I knew, I found myself on my kitchen floor. I looked up and the room was spinning. I wasn't sure what was going on. I grabbed my cell phone and called one of my good friends, Deidre, who kept me on the line and called 911. She and her family were soon at my home, along with firefighters and EMT. From there, things get fuzzy, and I don't remember much about the next 3 weeks.
I don't think you remember how sick you were. You don't remember that your family really was there.
I didn't really remember, so I wanted to sit down with the medical team who helped save my life. Seeing them and hearing from them was both surreal and very emotional. The trauma ER staff was the first to see me that day.
I was down there actually seeing a different patient, and I got pulled in by one of the ER nurses going, hey, there's a really, really sick lady in 17. Can you go lay eyes on her? I said, absolutely.
So he did. A CAT scan showed there was tons of blood in my abdomen.
We got you back to the ER, we fired massive blood resuscitation, and that's my job as well. We started that up, and you responded very, very well actually to the blood.
But I was still in critical condition.
Your case was sufficiently complicated that when I went to evaluate you, you were actively being, several teams were involved in your care, and there was quite a crowd of people trying to take care of you.
The clock was ticking on what was known as the golden hour.
Particularly after traumatic injuries, if we can get a patient stabilized enough and get them into our care within an hour, we can treat most life-threatening traumatic injuries pretty effectively outside of head injuries.
Thankfully, the ER staff was able to get me stabilized and thought to call in the ECMO team.
ECMO stands for extracorporeal membrane oxygenation.
Simply put, the ECMO machine replaces the function of the heart and lungs.
It was pretty obvious to me at that point that that clot was obstructing the blood flow forward to your lungs, so you had right heart failure from those clots.
I was stabilized enough to undergo surgery. I had a total of 7 surgeries.
We did what's called a damage control procedure. We did everything we could to stop the bleeding.
That first night was touch and go. My family and friends turned to their faith for comfort and guidance.
And I know she's a private person, but I called everybody and I was like, everybody I knew to pray.
Those prayers were answered. Doctors told my family I'd made it out of a pretty impossible situation.
Praise the Lord.
But I wasn't out of the woods just yet. I was then moved to the trauma ICU, where another incredible team took over.
So I touched your stomach and I was like, there was no give. I was like, this is really bad.
But there were signs of hope.
You were following commands pretty quickly after you got to us, like the next day, which is not what we expected.
It was soon time to start physical therapy, something I wasn't prepared for.
Physical therapy started with you, I think, about 3rd week. And at that time, sitting you up for even 5 minutes, I think Tanya and I did, and it was excruciating pain for you. I think you ended up being a little over 65 pounds more than your weight. That much fluid, so you're having to shift your body based on all this weight.
As tough as physical therapy was, nothing was going to stop me from working to get my life back, which included my most important job of all, being a mom.
Never said no. You always had determination, always. And whatever I said we were going to do, you did it.
No matter whether it was a good day or a not so good day, I always tried to smile. And I knew I could count on my amazing support system of family and friends.
And I think your dad and your family just pushing you. I think you had the will anyway, but I think that made a big difference. Daryl was holding your hand. They would spend the night.
Whether it was some of the organizations that I'm involved in or my church, that support made a huge difference to both me and my family.
Everyone was praying and helping us, and we definitely had some shoulders to lean on.
Remaining positive was a big part of my recovery.
Your attitude and motivation played a huge role in your recovery. So, and I do want to say too, one person that you talked about a whole lot, even when you were kind of confused, was Flower Girl.
Yes, I did. You all heard about Flower Girl. There were pictures of Flower Girl in my room.
Each day the staff came into my room, they went above and beyond to make sure that I was not only physically, but mentally and emotionally taken care of as well.
And I remember calling you all my medical angels that night, and just telling you all, you know, you may not realize the impact that you have, the power that you have, but it is truly amazing and awesome.
It's gratifying to see patients come back and visit and go, I had a part in this, and that helps me to keep going as a nurse, because you know, there are days that you kind of go, I can't do this anymore, and then it's like you, seeing you and people that come back, it makes it worth it.
I had finally reached my goal and made it out of the trauma ICU.
When I looked at her medical chart, I said, wow, how does this happen to somebody who's so young, who's healthy? You know, before you had come into the hospital, you know, some people had told me about you, that you were active, you're busy, you're hardworking.
But it did happen to me. I suffered a blood clot, and I wasn't quite ready to go home.
Nobody planned to be here, and virtually no one.
I certainly didn't, but I found myself at Siskin Rehabilitation Hospital.
I always like to say, the acute care hospital is there to save your life, but our job is to help get your life back.
And that was exactly what I planned to do.
So you already had that sense of recovery behind you already, that you had already come so far and now you were here, and so there was already a certain amount of success driving you forward. But we still had a long way to go, and you knew that as well.
I did know that, and that road to recovery included pushing myself every day.
Typically physical therapy in the morning and in the afternoon, and so they kind of double dip a little bit.
It's a lot, but you have to stay motivated and focused on your goals, no matter how tough the task.
And each day when we walked in the room, even if you were tired, you had a smile on your face, and sometimes it was kind of like a, okay, let's do it.
Fielder says that's key to trying to make sure patients stay motivated and focused on their goals, no matter how bad things look.
There's a younger gentleman who was working, was pretty active, and had a stroke, and you could just see in his face and talking with him that I'm not supposed to be here.
Asking the question, why?
How am I here? How am I going to do this? And that's a difficult place to be.
Yes, rehab can be a difficult place to be. A good staff and support system play key roles in a patient's success. I know. It certainly made a difference for me.
As we encourage families to stay, they're welcome to stay the night, to be involved in therapy. We do family training with every family, with our therapists, because we know that right now they're our concern, but 2-3 weeks down the road, they're now the family's concern.
Recovery is a process that takes time. You have to celebrate the victories, both big and small.
It was every day seeing little gains. A lot of times it's harder to measure, but with you it was very nice because every day we could say, we walked further today, we did more of this today.
And a little bit more each day continue to add up to a lot.
You believe that I am getting better and I will continue to get better.
Many of you continue to ask about our dear friend and co-worker LaTrice Curry. She remains in the hospital after a medical emergency.
Once the station knew more about what had happened to me and that I'd made it out of the woods, they let viewers know that I had suffered a medical emergency and wouldn't be on air for a while. Our wonderful viewers wanted to know what they could do.
Hopefully soon LaTrice can open those cards and read all your wonderful best wishes, thoughts, and prayers, and just keep that positive energy coming.
Boy, did they respond. The cards kept coming. They made me laugh, some even made me cry, but I was touched and moved by all the heartfelt messages and wanted to say thank you to everyone. I even made a few stops.
I want to hear a big SBA welcome for Miss Curry.
The elementary students at Silverdale Baptist Academy let me know they were thinking about me with these special cards they made that had sweet messages to get well soon.
You all drew some of the nicest pictures on there. You said, "Get well, Miss Curry. We're praying for you. God loves you." And I just thought, how beautiful is this that we have young people and we have children and we have students and kids who are doing this.
Children can truly set an example for all of us.
So I just want to leave you again with the absolute biggest, heartfelt thank you.
I was there to thank them, but I also got quite the surprise.
To speak, oh my gosh. First of all, you're just too cute. You're just too cute.
This card from a Chattanooga viewer said, "Your positive attitude, fighting spirit, and unwavering courage never cease to amaze me. Despite all you've been through, you never lose faith, never give up, and always find a reason to smile." Well, our viewers definitely gave me a reason to smile.
I'm so happy that it touched your heart. When I heard that you were ill, I said, I've got to send her a card.
I felt the love when I walked in.
So I was so happy that it touched your heart and that you enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.
Because I prayed for you every night too, and every day.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do, because as I said, those prayers were felt.
card was from a sweet North Georgia viewer who said, "I know you're glad to be back home. We can all breathe a sigh of relief." It was signed, your #1 fans, Ed and Janice Lawson. Hi, Miss Lawson. Come on. Hi. Miss Lawson said she simply wanted to let me know that she was thinking about me and praying for me.
And I had to let you know you were missed.
Thank you so much.
You have been so missed. No, you know, I met you at a women's expo.
Okay.
In Chattanooga. And you were so warm and so kind.
Thank you.
And that's
I hope
very
I was.
unusual.
Ladies and gentlemen, look who's back. LaTrice Curry.
I am so happy to be here at our annual Share Your Christmas food drive.
Miss Lawson says she had been keeping up with my progress and knew I was getting better when she turned on the TV and saw me at Share Your Christmas back in December.
I am so happy to be here.
And I said, oh, she's back. She is back. She's looking good.
I did. I made a visit there, and I think you're talking about in December probably for Share Your Christmas.
Yes.
That brief visit was my first time being seen on air since my life-threatening health emergency in August. I was glad to be able to take part in a station event to help serve our community.
I care about this community. And
the community cares about you too.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, you know what? People like you, Miss Lawson, make my job so much easier and so much better. And
praise the Lord. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Miss Lawson, who has a green thumb, gave me a flower to remember her by as I got ready to leave.
And count your blessings.
Yes,
water it.
yes, I am.
A live little girl.
Oh my, you're so cute. Oh, I love you, and I'm going to keep my flower alive.
Because the symptoms are similar to other illnesses, diagnosing it can be very challenging.
My Eye on Health reports are not only part of my job, but also part of my mission to help others lead healthy lives.
5 more? Oh, thank you.
I definitely try to practice what I preach. I try to stay active.
Hey guys, hello.
Going to the gym and working out with my trainer has been a big part of my routine for several years.
We did all types of exercises. We always did a full body every time I saw you, and that included running, some weights, and some high intensity interval training. And I think that's what kept you in really good shape.
Are you ready? I'm ready. Let's do this.
At the time, I had no idea just how important staying in shape and healthy would be.
To be able to handle life situations that come when you don't even know they're going to happen. But for many things such as surgeries that are upcoming or any kind of injuries you get, just being fit already helps you recover faster from those types of things.
That was never more important than now. Back in August, I was rushed to the hospital and suffered what we later learned was a pulmonary embolism.
You were sick. You were probably the most critically ill patient in the hospital.
The road to recovery wasn't easy, but I continued to defy the odds. After being in bed for 3 weeks in trauma ICU, getting started on rehab was a challenge.
One of the biggest things is when you aren't moving, you've got all these medical problems going on, and being sedentary can cause even more problems. With your lungs, with your muscles. Our muscles waste really quickly when we don't move.
So I had to get moving, but that was a challenge to say the least. Once I did, my recovery really started to come into focus.
You were just like, recovery time was just like that, so fast. Once that, within a week, you were amazing.
In addition to a miracle, doctors said my fitness played a major role in my survival and healing.
I think the other thing that shouldn't go unmentioned was your good health status. You take care of yourself and we're very healthy, and if you hadn't been in such a good state of health coming into this, I don't know if the outcome would have been as good.
Chances are, it would not have been as favorable.
But you looked a whole lot worse on paper than you did in person. And that's a compliment, because to see all that you went through, all the surgeries you went through, all the problems you had, I was blown away at how good you looked.
After completing my outpatient rehab, I went back to the gym.
When you came in, I was very surprised at how far along you've came based on what you went through, and you're definitely strong, and we're going to get you back to where you used to be before.
There you go. Doctors and fitness experts say it's important to stress the importance of staying active, eating a healthy diet, not smoking or drinking alcohol in excess. They say reach out if you need help taking that first step.
And that's important for all people to know that we're here to help them get through those struggles.
Once you take that first step, it's up to you to make the commitment and stick with it. It's not always easy or fun, but remember, it's your health. It's your life.
And so I didn't have to worry about when we weren't together. You were always working out and doing things on your own.